Finally, here's a clump of big blue stem that I can photograph because it is by itself. Normally this is a prairie grass that's mixed in with other things, but you can see I sort of have this circular, very vertical clump with tall grass heads hanging well above that foliage. So these are about a total of 4 feet tall up where those seed heads are. The foliage for this big blue stem is pretty interesting at this time of year. In the spring, it will be sort of a blue-green, but look at that red color as we head into fall. It's actually got some pretty interesting color notes down below, as well as in the spring.
Here's a big blue stem looking a bit more typical, mixed in with your prairie vegetation, the forbs, the other grasses. It's almost the tallest thing out here. The Indian grass is taller, the switchgrass is taller, but these big blue stem seed heads stick up above most of the vegetation. You can see that rich copper, bronze, sort of cinnamon color of these tall seed heads. Those big turkey feet are sort of 3-part, like these here at Oak Point, and they're very rough compared to something like a King Ranch blue stem, which is very smooth. These have awns that stick out, little hairs from each seed that are very rough and give the whole seed head this rough, coarse appearance.
Looking at a beautiful stand of bushy blue stem. This is sort of a low, swampy area of the Herd Museum in McKinney. And these are just gorgeous, gorgeous. Still growing, not yet gone to seed. They're getting close to working on seed heads for the year. And in the winter, this is just going to be a beautiful patch of cinnamon colored foliage. This will stand up tall right through the winter and add a very interesting note to any landscape. You can see it moves beautifully in the breeze. And this is a very, very striking grass for a home garden. If you can give it enough water, it will look great. Just a close-up of the heads of that bushy blue stem. Again, the seeds are just beginning to form. This one's showing a little bit of the fluff that's going to be coming out of the tops of these. One last parting shot of this really pretty field of bushy blue stem. In the afternoon sunlight, that's really shiny at this stage. I haven't really seen that before. This bushy blue stem has begun to set seed. Its Latin name is Andropogon glomeratus. Glomeratus means ball-shaped, and sure enough, it sort of has bushy, ball-shaped seed heads up at the top. This is very close to water in a damp location. There's a whole big patch of it here, and it's very happy in these damp and swampy conditions here in the park.
Both seep muley and pink muley are pink and airy, but the seep muley is generally smaller than the pink muley. Not exactly sure which one this is, although I think it is a seep muley in the parking lot at Oak Point Park in Plano, Texas.
There's that pink muley grass looking great again in the parking lot.
I'm not 100% positive, but I think this shows the pink muley standing up a little taller and larger in the background, and the seep muley with a smaller, more open and fluffy form in the front.
often really hard to film switchgrass. And the reason is that those blooms on the top are open and lacy. Those seed heads are real airy, and so it's hard to focus on them. And you usually don't find it by itself where there's a good background. You usually only find it mixed with other grasses, so it's very, very difficult. But here is one big clump of switchgrass out at the Benny Simpson Eco Prairie that shows you the shape of that clump. It's a big circular clump with the open airy seed heads up at the top. Let's see if I can get to focus on those. This is one of our big prairie grasses. It is a native to North Texas and can be used in the landscape, but just be aware that it is a big grass. This is the specimen is about 5.5 feet tall, I would estimate. These are clumps of eastern gamma grass planted on the edge of a parking lot at Oak Point Park. This one has a very long bloom stalk up at the top over my head, with a very large inflorescence and some large kernels of green that are starting to form on this. If I pan left a little, you're going to see some other large clumps. I want you to see what size they are. Those are about 3.5 feet tall, about 4 to 5 feet wide, about 3 big clumps, and the tall seed heads up above that. Each leaf on these is rather large and wide. They can have the same white center stripe as Johnson grass, and so you have to be a little bit careful. Very frequently this will not have that center white stripe, but sometimes it does. This one does. This is a close-up of those developing seed heads. Those can be popped like popcorn in the microwave. They kind of come apart like little poppet beads. It's a very big grass. It spreads via rhizomes to make a colony. And there are, I think, few home landscapes where this is really going to work because of the size and the way it spreads. It's one of the two-part flower heads. I say two-part because the male flowers are above. These are very actively blooming right now. And the female flowers are below. They'll actually be receptive at a different time than these male flowers are releasing their pollen. This cuts down on self-fertilization in this grass and improves or keeps the gene pool healthy by preventing inbreeding in this grass. Here's a close-up of those female flowers down below. You can see the stigmas have withered while these male anthers are still releasing pollen right now.
The look of the seed head varies with time. First, male and female flowers appear together on the same inflorescence. Then the male flowers dry up and prepare to fall off while the grains are forming below them. Male flowers have fallen off, leaving only the grains where the female flowers were in both of these images. It's a very large clump, too big for most landscape uses in suburban front yards, and one out in the wild where it does very well by lake.